Outstanding. All right, what's going on, everybody? It's Mike with the Tackle Your Personal Best podcast. Welcoming in D-Train again. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, fella?
Not much. Let me pop this up on my screen real quick. There we go. So, we've been fishing a few times.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah. Let's see. We've put in 3 trips in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, with very little to show for it. No video content whatsoever. I'm like hodgepodging a video together for a piece of equipment I'm trying to promote, and I have like no fish worth bragging about. Like, okay, here's this product and how it helped me catch these wonderful dinks. You can catch dinks too. So it's like, oh, come on. It just goes to show you how hard it had to be to like, especially imagine back in the 80s and 90s as old school bass fishing shows. The cat with the big, I'm going to get my ass trained for not remembering his name, but the cat with the big Texas T hat on, like the world's most famous bass fisherman from television. And
Oh, yeah.
they'd have like 3 or 4 boats full of cameramen and big ass equipment back then, and everything's analog, and just coming up with that content and trying to get nice fish. I can't even get one fish together for a 10-minute YouTube video, let alone a 30-minute freaking, broadcast television show in the 80s and 90s.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah. No, and hey, I'm right there with you. I've been having trouble catching them and reeling them in myself. So
I don't know about the rest of the world, but for Florida, at least for the last 2 months, it has been a kick in the nuts trying to get the bass to hook. I don't know. I've only been fishing for 18 months, but I started at the end of last spring. And so I have fished through the summer before, and I don't remember last July being this rough.
I remember last July being this rough. Every summer's rough.
Maybe because I was just so new to it, I was excited just to catch dinks. A boat full of dinks to me was a good day. Now it's like, come on, if it ain't over a pound and a half.
Yeah,
Leave me
your
alone.
first few fishing trips, you kind of just, whatever you can get is whatever you can get. You're happy about that. But once
So
you start getting into it for a while,
I
you're
feel
not.
like I feel like in the decorum of all things broadcasting and or podcast, you should probably explain to your audience where your co-host is.
Oh,
We
yeah.
just kind of
By
rolled
the
the
way,
fact that your co-host, the other 50% of your show is not even here, not even so much of a mention. Hi,
yeah.
Ron.
Well, we just kind of went off going on a tangent there, but yeah, Real Tactics Ron is actually out. A big congratulations to him and his wife Megan. They just brought another baby into the world,
Another
little Ezra,
another
and
future angler.
yep, another future angler. They have 2 boys now, so congratulations to them. Hopefully, Ron and Megan aren't going too stir crazy. I know he took a couple of weeks off of work, and he said he was going to be out of commission for a while as far as fishing was concerned. Um, so yeah, congratulations to them, and hopefully he'll be back on the podcast here soon. If he can get out and go fish, I know he's got that pond in his backyard, so he'll be able to get out there and actually throw a few. So,
And since we do host your and Ron's podcast on the Digital 410 Network, I just thought
yeah.
it would be fun to cross-platform promote. And so if you're watching us on Facebook on the What's in Your Head page, like, what the hell is this? This is us simply cross-promoting, cross-advertising one of the podcasts that, no, I am not a host of. I'm simply here as a guest today. So it's not like, oh, Jesus, this guy's putting on another podcast. Nope. This is Mike and Ron's podcast. I'm just making an appearance and kind of getting the name out there by streaming on all of our video platforms tonight.
Yeah, and we definitely appreciate it. Um, well, let's kind of bring this into play. I've actually been posting some little clips and things like that to YouTube lately.
Okay.
I just posted a welcome video, and I have one video in the works of doing a uni knot. So a little how-to tip and trick about that. So that
Can
should be
you
coming out soon.
teach us a how-to tip and trick on how not to forget how to tie a knot that you used to be proficient at, but then like for some reason you started fishing certain type of bait or hook that doesn't require that type of knot, and then when you go back to fishing with the type of lure or bait that does require that knot, you forget how to do it, and then you lose lures and stuff. You got any tips on how not to do that? I literally forgot. We were worm flipping for so hard, so long for a while that I completely forgot how to tie a uni knot. And that's how
Really?
that was my go-to for when I was tying leaders on last fall. I would dual uni knot, and then
Yeah.
we do a what's the knot for the hooks where you go in and anyhow the Branson knot. I don't know knots, but the
I typically could just call it a fisherman's knot, which is just a standard eight loop knot.
I don't do
But
that one. I go through the hook, long, bend it back,
yeah,
come back through, so you have a loop. Tie the loop around, and then put the hook through the loop. And it's I forget the hell it's called.
polymer.
Polymer knot. So polymer
Yeah.
knot was my go-to knot, and then I, for some reason, came up with my own half-ass version knot that I was using on my crankbaits. And so then when I went back to trying to tie a uni knot, I forgot how to, even though I'd done it for like months. I had to go back and watch YouTube videos. Like, how do you forget to learn? How do you forget to know how to tie a knot?
Well, you'll be able to go look at my channel and you'll be able to see how to figure out how to tie a uni knot again. So,
Well, I already know how. I'm professional with it. You can see me tying one on my TikTok live streams.
oh yeah,
If my phone doesn't overheat.
yeah. It's the one that I'm actually uploading is just a single uni knot, not a braid to mono or braid to fluoro or
Well,
whatever.
how are you doing this? Because I've seen some where the guys get creative and they get like a comedically large fake hook, and then they'll get like paracord so that you can see it on the video instead of using. Yep, there you go, paracord.
I had a paracord 550 bracelet that last night I was actually tearing apart. That took me probably about 10-15 minutes to actually tear apart so that I could film how to do the uni knot and everything like that. And once I got it all done, and I
Mhm.
looked back at the video and I went, shit, I did that completely wrong.
Oh,
And
that sucks.
I completely screwed up the uni knot, so now I have to refilm how to do it because I didn't do it right the first time.
So when we were
But,
out kayak fishing the other day, I was telling you that I wanted to do kind of like a YouTube gimmick video where we make lures. Got to make two
yeah,
or three of them. That way, if you lose one, the video's not over. And see who can catch how many bass. I guess maybe we need to wait until the time of year where we're pulling a lot of bass with regular lures, let
yeah.
alone magic make believe lures. And then I saw a video today where somebody did that. They made one out of just a kitchen spoon. They put a troll hook on the bottom. They caught a big ass bass. But I thought,
Nice.
what if we doubled down? And I don't know, we're either going to have to go to Costco to find an industrial size spool of dental floss, or we're going to have to do a uni knot to the end of our existing line. But I say we fish with homemade lures and dental floss braid. see, see if we can actually land any fish. Like Survivor Series, it's the end of the society. It's the apocalypse. All the fishing string throughout the land is gone, and so your choice is that as you find yourself in zombie land out in the middle of the woods at some cabin, you find an old fishing rod with no string or a thing of dental floss and a homemade lure. Can you make it work in a pinch?
That sounds perfect. That sounds like
I think what
good
we're going to
content.
discover is I think once that dental floss gets wet, I think it's going to be stick upon itself. I think it's going to be a hot. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see. But I don't think we're going to find 300 yards worth of dental floss, so we may have to uni knot it to the end of our braid or something and just make a world's longest dental floss leader.
You might be surprised. You could probably find that shit in a spool.
Go to like
Somebody's
dental
got to make
college
it somewhere.
warehouse distribution center.
But yeah, let's get into what was going on with our first saltwater trip.
That was interesting.
To say the least. For those of you that don't know, I have a 19-foot center console that I take out saltwater fishing.
I got accused of buying a boat and leaving Loki at home. Pity Pat's at home. For those you don't know, my better half Carrie is made quite a name for herself on Fish Talk. That's the TikTok for that for the fishermen, and so she live streams a lot. And so she blew her leg out 4 weeks ago, and she's been laid up. And so when I went out fishing the first time with Mike, I had my TikTok live stream going. So he's, oh, you bought a new boat. I see how it is. I'm like, it's not my boat. It looks like a new boat to me. Buying a boat and leaving her at home, huh? I see how it is. It's like, no, it's not my boat.
Yeah, people will assume anything.
So yes, you have a nice. What is that? A 17-footer?
No, 19.
19?
It's 18 foot 7 inch. So,
7
but
inch
yeah,
counts.
I just got a trolling motor for it, so we're able to troll around in them mangroves and stuff like that. We'll talk about that. I know what you're laughing at.
Hope we got insurance on that.
Interesting enough, first trip out there, you didn't catch a damn thing, did you?
No, I lost some shrimp by some bandits, but I did not catch a single mother loving fish that day.
Yeah.
I got to prematurely eject your snook, but other than that, I personally didn't get to set any hands on any fish that I was responsible for acquiring from the ocean.
Let's paint the picture here.
Of how one
I'm
prematurely
reeling in a snook. I've got it on the line. We've got it up to the boat. Pull it up out of the water. I was like, here, I'll grab it. I'll go show.
Well, Mike
TikTok
has a
what's going on.
tendency to be a little shy with his fish, whether it's a bass or a snook with a sharp gill plate. He's always he's like trying to play the got your tongue game with them. I'm like, just grab the son of a bitch. Does he have teeth? You're like, no,
Well,
they do have sharp gill plates, and
I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for it to grab onto it, and then it shakes, and then there goes the hook in the finger.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to deal with that because I've dealt with it before.
Only time I get shy with that is if they're on like a whopper plopper or something with double treble hooks.
Yeah.
Or even a single treble hook in the mouth. If it's like a extra wide gap hook, I'm not even worried about. But yes, if a crankbait, whopper plopper, something with a treble hook in it, I do the same. I usually opt for lip locks, and I'll make a note. We'll get back to that later. But yes, so Mike's like, it has sharp gill plates, and I've since watched some videos, and I heard how loud they can be. But I wear Cast King Extremist brand fishing gloves, because I've already developed some skin spots on my face from fishing last summer without using protection. And when I put up my first World War II reenacting video after the summer, I shaved my beard off. You can see all these brown speckles down my face. And so now I don't want to be the guy who looks like Captain Ron in 3 years because I'm out. It's one thing if you go fishing twice a month for 8 hours a day. But when you're like me and Carrie before she blew out her knee, where we were out on the kayak in the Florida sun for at least 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, that's a lot of sun exposure. And so I didn't want to start looking like Captain Ron. If you don't know who that is, look up that movie from the 90s. You won't probably not thank me later. But so now I'm.
Oh, come on, that's a good movie.
So now I'm out. I'm Captain, Vampire. I'm out there, and Ron does the same. Full pant. Sometimes I wear a short. But full pant, long sleeve fishing shirt, ball cap, hood, gloves, basically all the clothes that allow 50% of the UV rays to pass through, I'm out there in. And so I had those gloves on, and they have like I don't want to say suede, but kind of like a imitation leather on the palm so you can get grip on wet stuff. And I was like, well, I have my gloves on. So I grabbed it, got the hook out, and the thing, now, I've only been fishing consecutively for about 15 months, and 99.78%, and this isn't even a brag, this is more about the overpopulation of bass in Florida. 99.8% of the fish I catch are bass. And so I have very limited experience, with the exception of the occasional gar and a big ass 6.5 pound or less tilapia. I have very limited experience on different fish types. And so that damn thing shot out of my hand like I squeezed a bar of freaking dial. And it's just a bloop. And I'm looking at my gloves, and there's just all these little scales, because bass are rugged. Bass do not lose their scales. They are not delicate fish. Apparently, snook are.
They're not very slimy either.
No, bass.
They're very, very.
They're kind of like
would be the right term.
Obviously, a gar is more like a reptile, but I would say a bass is kind of like a wet, a knoll chameleon, or even a bearded dragon. They're not scaly like that per se, but they're not fish scale. They don't have, like with the snook, I had scales all over my hand. A bass you can hold, and it's kind of like holding a small snake. It's just their skin's more rugged like that.
Yeah. So anyway, snook goes in the water. Nothing on TikTok.
You know how it goes. No video didn't
Disappointed.
happen. Well, not only that, but luckily I did get it on the GoPro, so it is up on my YouTube channel under the saltwater fishing video. So you can go look for Digital 410 on YouTube, and you can see the video.
Yep. Caught another snook. I caught another
No,
snook.
first you caught a mullet or ladyfish. Your first fish was not a snook.
No, it wasn't. I still think it was a bonefish.
Okay, a bonefish. Once again, I don't know
Yeah.
my saltwater fish.
I didn't get a good look at it before it came off the line. I mean, I had it up in the air and then it just went.
We'll include the link of the video on the webpage for this. So if you're downloading it through the website, or even if you're on iTunes or wherever, just go to PB Baits. That's with the Z.D-410.com, or go to D-410.com. Click on the PB Baits logo in the toolbar, and that'll take you to the website. And we'll post the link to the YouTube video so you guys can watch it with your fishing expertise and send in an email or comment on the video what type of fish that is, so Mike and Ron can go over on their next episode.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I caught that, caught the snook that you lost, and then caught one other snook, and that was.
Well, the reason we don't know
we
what
catch a catfish.
Well, the reason we don't know what the first fish was because it prematurely dehooked itself on its own before you even got a hand on it.
Yeah.
So we only saw it for about 30 seconds, or not. 30 seconds is a long time. We only saw it for about 8 seconds before it dehooked itself.
Yeah. We named our dolphin.
Oh yeah, we saw a dolphin, and first and foremost, I've been around some dolphins. I've never been 10 yards from them. I usually see them from a beach or a boat, and they're usually majestic. They jump into the silhouette of the nice Florida sunset, and they play and they banter. We're out fishing, and we hear, what the hell was that? I look around over my shoulder, and I don't see anything, just a splash. Like, okay. And I see this thing expose itself from, I want to say the deep, but the water was only 1.5 feet. So from 2 feet of water. Well, it's like 3 feet of water, but 2 feet grass bed. And I'm like, was that a dolphin? That don't sound. We realized that it was a injured dolphin who is literally, at the time, when you watch the video, I say he's missing 1/4 of his dorsal fin. Since trip 2, when we saw some non-injured dolphins and I saw how long their dorsal fins are in all of their virgin glory, I now realize this thing was missing over half of its dorsal fin.
I'd go as far as to say is 60 to 75% of it was gone.
To the point where I almost said, is that a small whale? And so we named this thing Doofy the dolphin, and it's not like it followed us in a straight line as we were going down the coast. It followed us as we hung a hard left and dog-legged back into the mangroves. This thing literally followed us for like an hour, just every time it came out of the water, it made the loudest gulp of air, and it was swimming so slow. And then, of course, and this is in the video too, you can see 2 guys on wave runners hauling ass all the backwaters of the Gulf of Mexico to their exposure, and they somehow make a beeline for Doofy the dolphin. And he's like getting nervous, and all of a sudden he starts swimming big circles, and the guy damn near hits him.
Yeah.
And I was telling Mike, this is probably how Doofy lost his dorsal fin to begin with. Either that or Jaws bit the damn thing off. But I'm guessing boat prop.
Yeah, it definitely had to be something like that. I mean, the poor thing.
You could see the scar tissue on. I don't know. Just imagine your knuckles coming out of the water. That's what his dorsal fin looked like. It was sad.
Same thing on that trip. We saw 2 other interesting things.
Which the third one I got to follow up on. I was at work and there was a defunct website involved. I did call them and I was trying to send them the video, but you really can't see it in the video because we wear polarized sunglasses that allow you to see at least 2 to 3 feet into the water on a clear day, and GoPro lenses aren't solar or not like that. We'll hold out on that one for a minute, but so we were kind of we were snook fishing like we bass fish because, well, I'm out of my element. So we're basically trolling along the edges of the mangroves, just flipping worms and flipping crankbaits or jerk baits like we're fishing for bass, trying to catch snook. Which it worked for Mike, so I can't rag on our fishing technique. But we see this little inlet, and I'm like, that'd be perfect place to take the kayaks back into, which we don't have because we're on your boat. And so he starts to kind of maneuver the boat back in there, and we're casting down this little alleyway, and we see some rustle and some tussle down there. It's like, ooh, there's some fish jumping. I'm throwing a jerk bait. He's trying to worm flip with a shrimp back there, a live shrimp. And now the water is super clear. You can see, even with sunglasses on, you can see probably 3 to 4 feet down into the water. You can definitely see the grass bed. If the sun is not right reflecting in your eye, making a sunspot, if you're in the shadow areas, you can see rather deep. And this wake comes at you. Now, I've seen this a few times in canals where I don't see anything. I don't know if it's a fast swimming alligator making the V wake. I've seen it multiple times where you get kind of nervous, something's coming at your kayak and there's nothing. Fish finder doesn't go off or anything. And there's nothing. It's like, is that just the wind, current, whatever? So I've seen it a few times in the canals and Cape. And so we see it. I'm like, what is that? And the first thing I see is a brown splotch, but not splotch as in defined like as in a round blob, but a splotch as in like an ink blot with different arms. It kind of looked like a crab being pushed along by a strong current. And I was like, what the hell is that?
It looked like a cooked crab.
Yeah, it looked like because crabs are
was
blue,
like,
but this thing was
had
bright
an
red.
orange
Like,
hue to it.
yeah, this is like something you get off of a dinner special at Red Lobster.
It was all steamed up and ready to go. It was coming right towards us.
And Mike was the first one to realize that was the scar tissue from a prop on another deformed animal, thanks to the human intervention, on a manatee with its baby. And that was hella cool to see because it went right underneath our boat. And you can see that on the video pretty good, as best as you can see with a GoPro Hero 1080p, because my GoPro 7 2K camera died on 4th of July. That's another story for another time. And so I only have, at some point I hijacked Mike's camera, so I'm using my less than stellar visual camera. And so you guys can see that. You can barely make out the baby, but it's there.
Yeah, the mother was, what would you say, 6-7 feet long, and the baby was probably maybe 4.
Yeah, maybe the size
most
of a large dog.
Yeah, but yeah, it was really cool to see them come out of that cut, and we kind of scared them a little bit because I was maneuvering the boat in such a way that we were facing down into this creek, and it was getting really shallow, and the depth alarm was going off. And
I got out a pen to make a note, and I never wrote anything on my paper. There was something I was wanting to circle back to, but I done forgot. So yeah,
I turned the boat around. They kind of scurried away, but it was cool to see them. We tried to stay as much out of their way as we possibly could.
Now, did you catch any other fish after that point? You caught the 2 snook. You caught, I think you only caught 3 fish that day, right?
Well, no,
you landed 3. You caught 4, or you landed 2 and caught 3. I remember this 2 snook and that 1.
Yeah, the one unknown fish in the morning. And then once we got closer towards the afternoon is when I caught those other 2, the snook.
I have to keep muting my mic. For some reason, like 5 hours ago, I drank a Pepsi at work, and I guess my Coca-Cola loyal body is not taking well to it. And I've had like gas stored in my chest, and I've been trying to burp a Homer Simpson S-style burp since about 5 o'clock.
Oh, Lord.
And so nothing's coming out. So every once in a while, I'll mute my mic and just do a small burp. But apparently Pepsi does not agree with my Coca-Cola loyal body.
Yeah, so I mean, while we were out there, and I mean, even it was mostly cloudy throughout the whole day. The weather, we got a little rain, some minor rumbles in the background, but nothing too crazy. So I mean, as far as the weather goes, it wasn't actually that bad out. But aside from that, let's get into the oopsie of the day, and I'll let you take that over and explain that.
So if you go back and watch the YouTube video, at the beginning, I mentioned to Mike, "Hey, does your depth finder have a shallow water alarm?" He's like, "Huh? Yo, you mean like to go off when the water gets so shallow?" Yeah, it has that. Fantastic. I only assumed that meant he said it once he said that, but apparently not. Shortly after our uh, intervention or exposure to the manatee, we're trolling along, just flipping bait, and I look down and see the whole damn troller motor bouncing and grinding, and so he realizes we are running aground, so shallow aground that the troller motor with the brand new fresh out the box troller motor, this is its maiden voyage, is now grinding up coral like a freaking ninja blender on the bottom of the on the backwater. So we pull it up, and now we find ourselves floating in 8 inches of water in your
We're not
18-foot
we're
boat.
not even floating at that point. We actually had run aground. We stopped. We weren't floating. We weren't moving at all. But yeah, that and you're at the front of the boat. Oh, you got a chip in your propeller, and I'm thinking there's a big chunk missing out of it. I ended up looking at it later, and it was just ground up.
Well, your brand new propeller went from being a nice steak knife to a serrated fruit cutting knife.
Yeah.
It's no longer a smooth Mike Myers knife. It's more of a chunky freaking Ginsu knife.
But yeah, we ended up having to shorten the shaft on that, just power our way out of it in reverse and just keep on going for the day. But yeah, that was our mishap for that particular day. But then that third thing that we were running into was
so we were fishing along, and just like the manatee, just like Doofy the air sucking dolphin, out of nowhere comes a big ass swimming manta ray, 1.5 foot down, right in clear water, just completely covered in spots. I was like,
huge.
Hey, there's a big ass. This thing probably the wingtip was probably 7 feet long, or maybe longer. It's just hard to tell because when they swim, their arms are folded like a bed sheet. So you really could. He wasn't laying. He was hauling ass.
Yeah.
Well, not hauling ass, but he was definitely jogging to work. He was on his way somewhere with a purpose. And we thought nothing of it. Cool, man. Got to see a manta ray to finish off the day. The next morning, I see an article on my phone, because on Android, if you swipe left, you get a bunch of news articles that are curated by Google based on what your interests are. And there's a story that says up in Bradenton or St. Pete, somewhere a little about 45 north of us, 45 minutes north, that a boater had what they refer to as a very rare spotted eagle ray jump in the back of their boat and give birth.
Give birth.
Give birth on their nice leather or naga hide seats. And I sent this to Mike. I said, "Is that not the same spotted ray we seen?"
Yes.
And he replied, "Yes." And so I started doing a Google image search on the quote-unquote rare spotted eagle ray. And lo and behold, I'm seeing something like, well, this is pretty cool. And I click on one of the images, and I click website just to see where it's hosted and hoping to maybe read an article. And it was an aquarium / marine biology study center up in Sarasota. And I forget the name, but it was a web forum submission for you to report anytime you spot the rare spotted eagle ray. Oh,
was it cool. The Moat Aquarium?
Yeah, something like that. Moat.
Okay, yeah.
And so I tried to fill out the form. Me and Mike got on the phone together, brainstormed coordinates, time, blah, 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 depth of water, temperature, what side of our shorts our equipment was hanging on, the whole thing they asked, and hit submit, and the website blew up. Went back, copied my information in case it cleared out, hit submit, 404 error. So after the 5th time, I said to hell with it. I called them up, and they asked me to send them an email with the video, and I got to looking at the video, and I tried adjusting the brightness and all that. There's like 1 second you can see the spots reflecting in the sun, but you really have to slow it down. And I was like, you know what? It's not worth it at this point. I'm sure they would love the information. I probably should report it to them anyhow, just so they know that one has been spotted. A
Yeah.
short 45-minute drive from where they're at. But yeah, so we saw a very cool, at least we believe we saw a very rare spotted eagle ray.
Yeah, that was definitely a cool sight to see, especially something that is as rare as they are. Um, but yeah, that was our first saltwater trip, pretty much wrapped up in a nutshell. Some misfortune, some fortune.
Folly.
um, but yeah, that overall I think was a good trip. You know, even though we didn't catch that many fish, you didn't really catch any at all.
Before
You know, just
I don't know if you're planning on segueing into fishing day trip number 2,
yeah,
but before we do, maybe we'll put a breather on it for a second. I remember what the pen was for.
okay,
I jotted down things you must have in your box. Now, as I said before, I am a bass fisherman, and I'm a bass fisherman, and so whenever I try to do something else, I have to pick lures, pick things, and put them in a different bag or box or what have you, and I always tend to forget things. Sometimes when I go seawall fishing, I don't want to deal with my tackle bag, so I try putting it in a book bag, and I'll inevitably forget something. And I think the day we went out the first trip, I forgot my pliers slash bait cutters and all that. So I'm trying to burn line with a lighter or use Mike's rusty Texas chainsaw pliers that doesn't actually cut anything. It just smashes it super flat until you break it off like a plastic model piece. And so must have for any basic fishing trip, especially in saltwater. I'm going to say pliers and or scissors.
hmm
Pliers to get those deep set hooks out of mouths, or maybe hooks out of a mouth with something that has bigger teeth than than you have,
yeah,
or something that maybe will f you up when you get your hands too close. So you definitely want a good pair of needle nose pliers, or probably I would recommend the fishing equivalent that has the nice cutting end tool so you can cut your braid and or your fluorocarbon. I have seen people who are such not connoisseurs that they bring toenail or fingernail clippers so they can cut the tag end off right at the knot, so there's no dangle preventing the best hydrodynamics for their bait as it goes. You don't want any tag end exposed at all. It's got to be trimmed down like the finest manicure. So I've seen people go that route. So you definitely want that. The other thing I would say you want, and people will make fun of you when they see them in photos with you in an 8 3/4 pound bass. Why do you got to have the jumper cables on your mouth? Because I forgot it was already on there. It's like this thing gave me an extra 6 inches to grab the damn thing, and so especially when it comes to like sail catfish that have the pokey, spiky things, or fish we caught on Sunday that have lots of big teeth, lip locks. They're great, easy. Plus, where these come in handy, to be honest, is like when you're kayak fishing. I often say kayak fishing is like working on the top of a ladder. Anybody who's ever done any ladder work knows what that means. um, and so you need as much help and or advantage. And where these come in handy is anytime I get a fish that I think's over 3 pounds, I don't even try to pull them out of the water, especially if I'm on fluorocarbon or mono, because I don't want the risk of gravity breaking my line, or even more common, gravity equals torn lips and premature dehookings. It's when they lose that buoyancy of the water and they jump, that's gravity kicks in, that's when they're going to spit the hook every time.
yep,
So if it's a big fish, if I don't think about it, I'll just grab them with my hands. But if they're being violent, I'll just reach in there and grab them with these lip locks, and then they can shake all they want. And I've had it a few times where the fish is on my lip lock and that hook goes flying out, where if I didn't have these and I tried to finger handle them or flip it into my boat, I probably would have lost the fish. So those are kind of my go-to over 2 pound landing tool, just so I don't risk losing the fish, because I want to look cool, because I want to throw my raw hands into the mouth of the beast. No, I'll look nerdy and old. I'd rather have the fish in my lap than an empty hook, because I tried to sport grab it and it spit the hook.
yeah, that definitely makes sense. Another thing to add to that list for saltwater fishing, though, some kind of spray lubricant.
Mm-hmm.
Keep the rust away, because as you said, my dirty old rusty Danco pliers were not functional
Yeah,
at
I need to
all.
go out there and I have used my bait caster since, but I haven't used my spinning reels, and I need to go out there and oil those because I didn't wash
Yeah,
those off at all.
yeah. Um, yeah, kind of segueing into trip number 2.
Well, one more thing I just want to get out there while we're on the topic of gear. As I said previously, whenever I try to go from kayak fishing to shore fishing, it's amazing when you do a certain particular style of fishing and then you transition into someone else's style through necessity. It's too late to drag the kayak out, but you want to get a line in the water, so you grab your crap and you grab 3 rods and a drink and your phone and everything else, and you're trying to walk to where you're going, and you bend over, the damn shoulder bag slides down your shoulder and drops your poles, and you're getting everything tangled up. As I said before, I tried the book bag thing. Well, I put everything in the book bag and put the book bag over my shoulder, and that kind of works good. But then you got everything in the open container, the centralized compartment. So now you're trying. Where's the hooks? Where's this? And you're just. I was browsing around line as I do, and as you guys know, I'm brand loyal, and I stick with a brand until the brand gives me a reason not to stick with them. And I came across this cool thing, and sorry for those of you listening at home, you really got to see the YouTube video to get this. But this is the Cast King Bait Boss Tackle Bag / Hip Pack. It is about, I'm going to say maybe a quarter the size less than my full-size bag as far as depth, not width, but depth. But they have a tremendous amount of hidden storage in here. And before I show that, here's how it becomes a hip pack. You turn it around, and there's a permanent pouch in the back, and you unzip the edges, and built into the bag is the actual hip pack that goes around your waist. And so you can actually unzip these. And so, like, if you're out fly fishing or maybe surf fishing where you're, knee deep in water, you don't have to run back to the beach to get your bait or your hook or whatever. This thing straps to your ass like a hip pack. And I have worn it on my back with my firearm on. Doesn't conflict. You can lift it and spin it and put it on the front side to get to your stuff. But the main center compartment is big enough that right now, it's not even packed full. I just have 2 of my hard bait boxes and my hook box. Well, the hook box wasn't there. I took it out. So there's plenty of room. I mean, I got room for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 different bays in these hard boxes. But here's the cool part. Like the accordion envelopes or the accordion binders that have the plastic slots you can put all your papers?
Yeah.
This front pouch literally has an accordion style divider so you can separate all your worm bags and soft bait bags.
Nice.
And then it has a side pouch on both sides. So I have my scale, my digital scales in here, along with my scissors. There's actually a pouch for needle nose pliers on the front. So this thing basically has 6 or 7 bays. And it does come with a detachable shoulder strap. So if you want to use it like a traditional. And the funny thing is, I got this thing thinking I'll use it occasionally. This thing has pretty much become my primary fishing bag because I discovered it's small enough that I can put it at the end of my feet in front of my kayak instead of my old one I'd have to put behind my seat, strap it into the luggage compartment. Anytime I want to get worms, tackle box, I'd have to turn around and try to find it and pull it out without things dropping in the water. And so that right now, that's kind of become my go-to. And so if you guys are looking for a nice, compressed, easy to use, high quality material, and I think the price point is $49. It's not expensive at all.
Yeah, you can't
does not come with plastic boxes, but I have plenty of them laying around. But the quality material.
Yeah, I mean, considering a lot of the other brands of even that size bag are well into the $80, $90 range. Yeah, that's a good price point for that.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, it's definitely check it out. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it on their website. And real quick, True Braid. This is not a paid sponsor. True Braid, somebody we follow on TikTok, and we bought this stuff. The braid we have been using, ironically, is kind of like the dental floss we said at the beginning. We'd get the Suffix braid from Walmart or even Suffix braid from Dick's, and it's just super rugged and it gets tangled up. I tried that. We found that cool stuff at Walmart that's supposed to be anti-pole wrap. Tried that. It
Hmm.
worked great for a while, but 300 yards of this true braid. This is 30 pounds. We have 20 pounds as well. 300 yards, and it's like 19, 20 bucks. But this stuff is like, it is so smooth. It's almost like, I don't even know what, maybe you could try almost compare it to a miniature paracord. I mean, it feels like silk. It is so damn smooth. There's no friction on it, so it's not going to get tangled. It's not going to cause bird's nests as easy. And
It
right now,
casts it casts really well
I was
too.
gonna say right now I haven't had any problems with it. So
Yeah.
if you guys are on TikTok or just Google True Braid, I think he's out of Tampa area somewhere. But yeah, stuff works great. So check that out as well. So that's
Yeah,
my
I'll have to
little
get my hands on some of that too.
that's my little tips for equipment to try out.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Um, Kayak news.
Yay!
Stuff coming out of the works. I am finally getting a new kayak. I'm very excited about that because, as you know, my current kayak is not a fishing kayak at all.
No, it was a entry level lifetime kayak. Didn't even have pole holders in it. You basically drilled holes in it and added everything yourself.
Yeah.
I will
Yeah.
say that old kayak does have a big ass on it. And
Hmm.
so it does not drift at all, which is nice. You and I will be in the same area, and I'm like constantly having to paddle to straighten up my Teton, and you're just stationary as if you have an anchor dropped.
Yeah.
So that is one of the nice aspects to that one. But yeah, it is an old leaky boat. Mine leaks too, but yours leaks faster than mine does.
Yes, it definitely does. I probably pulled 2 gallons of water out of it the other day when we went.
Yeah, I
But
just dumped a bunch out of mine.
yeah, I'm actually getting the Bonafide SS 127 12-foot 7-inch kayak. This is a monster.
Bonafide SS 127.
Yes, sir.
I want to see what this bad boy looks like.
Right now, I believe it comes in 4 different color options. I
Bonafide
haven't quite made
kayak.
up my
They
mind on what
have a
color I'm going to
they
get.
have a
But
slate gray. They got a Tiffany blue. They got like a fire engine red. They have a OD green with like brown padding to give it a not quite camouflage look, um, but yeah, the OD green one's actually kind of cool looking.
yeah, I kind of like that one. And I'm debating between that one and probably the red one
Now I see the
or the
hatch.
gray.
Is this thing paddle driven by default or is that an upgrade?
What do you mean?
It looks like the overhead view looks like they have a paddle drive hatch where you can add a paddle drive.
No, actually, what that is called a dry pod.
Okay. Okay.
So it has dry storage built in, and that is actually removable. What most people have been doing, and what a lot of like Fluke Master on YouTube and guys like that, they've been putting their depth finder, fish finders,
Uh huh.
and GPS combos, mounting it to the top of that box, putting a little lithium ion battery inside, and then it's through hull. So you can put your transducer on the bottom of the box.
I bet you if you research, I bet there is a paddle driven attachment you can probably pop in that hole.
You probably could. I know they have made since then a pedal drive. I think it's actually called the P127. Um, but yeah, that's going to be coming here very soon. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks. Ow! I just popped something in my back. Um, so there's a little bit of news as far as new toys and
Looks
things
like
like that go.
it looks like the Apex pedal drive rudder system add-on may fit that boat.
The Apex.
Yeah, Apex pedal drive plus rudder system, but the damn thing costs more than the boat.
Yeah.
It's $900, but it looks like it has a tray that will fit that hole. It's almost like it was designed, or maybe perhaps I'm sure somebody who knows more will say, "Well, actually, stupid. The kayaks have a universal hole size that they all use, so you can make universal paddle drive." So maybe it's
Yeah.
universal, maybe it's designed for that kayak, but it does have like a tray in that same shape that
Mhm.
looks like it'll plug that hole.
Yeah, and that would be cool, except I'm not going with any kind of I'm specifically not going with a pedal drive because I'm putting a trolling motor on mine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting a Motor Guide XI3 to put on the bow. And unfortunately, when you do that, and if I'm not mistaken, in all of the 50 United States, it is a requirement then to register the kayak. So
I thought if it was gas driven.
they specify motorized.
Hmm.
They don't
Well,
specify gas or electric.
what's the possible Apex Pub driver system can be installed minutes alone you to go, blah blah blah. Yeah, it looks like they're showing it being installed on different kayaks. But I mean, how much does it cost to register a freaking kayak? $20 a year?
I think it was like $12 or
Yeah,
something like
so
that.
well, that's a little too steep for me. I dropped
Yeah.
$10,000 on my kayak, but the $12 a year. That's kind of like we were talking. You watch Lone Star Law or any show with a fish and wildlife, and you show these guys pulling up on these fishermen or standing on the bank with like $3,000 worth of equipment, $200 sunglasses on, and oh no, my fishing license expired 18 years ago. So you can't afford $19 a year for fishing, but you got $10,000 worth of equipment laying on the bank.
Yeah.
I'm not buying that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think I've said this before. I've known guys, especially up in like Georgia, North Carolina area, that are so against getting a fishing license.
So dumb.
I don't understand it, but yeah, I chose that particular kayak because their motto is actually ultimate fishability, and
Nice.
all of their yaks in particular have, uh, the fishability or the fishing quality to them, which is something that I like. I've done a lot of research on it. It's one of the most stable kayaks I'm told that's out there. Um, and I think overall it's just a nice, well-rounded, you know, vessel to be able to use to do what we like to do. So,
Well, as I said
um,
earlier, I am very brand loyal.
yeah,
And it's sad, most usually you have your dream car, your dream whatever, is something super expensive, but I just truly want a lifetime Teton Angler Pro, and that thing retails at freaking Dick's Sporting Goods for $6.99.
yeah,
And the only major difference between what I have now and it is it's designed to stand up upon. I'm not looking for
yeah,
paddle drive. I just want something. When I started fishing from your boat, I realized the potential of fish I'm losing because I can't see them because I'm sitting I'm not standing 6 feet off the surface of the water. I can see them in the clear water. I'm sitting on
yeah.
my ass. And so I'm sure I'm losing potential fish by not being able to stand up on my kayak.
The sight casting world is plays a big part
Well,
in
of
catching a
course,
lot of big
there's an
fish.
entire industry of people who build ridiculously large towers to go on your small boat so
Yeah,
you can get an extra 10 feet of view up
yeah,
in the air. So there's something to it, or people wouldn't spend the money on those aftermarket towers.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, that's the kayak that I'm getting. Actually, the SS stands for sit and stand, so you can stand in it.
Sit and spin.
Yeah. um, moving on to the next point that we have here, Carrie's leg.
Mm-hmm.
I know you've talked about this on your podcast, and
Mm-hmm.
you've got YouTube videos and TikToks out there. Um, first of all, how's she doing?
Terrible. She's still.
Terrible.
She got her MRI back. She does have minor tearing of her meniscus. She has damage to. She has bruising in her tibia. For those you playing along at home, that's your bone. She has muscle loss behind the kneecap and minor tearing behind degeneration. But no worries. They recommend physical therapy. You're good to go. I'm like, that's a bit of a long shopping list for physical therapy.
Yeah,
And so she
yeah,
reached back out to her doctor. I'm just sitting here lusting after this blue Lifetime Angler
the
Teton
pro.
Pro with the adjustable foot pedals and the wide ass and the same seat, dry storage. But anyhow, we had to take her doctor before that. She had 15 cc's of blood and funk sucked out of her knee. You guys don't know. One night after the Scuttlebutt podcast, I was in our bathroom, and so she went to the child's bathroom, who must have recently gotten out of the shower, and as kids do, not give a shit. And so the tile floor was completely covered in water, unbeknownst to Carrie. She fell, twisted her ankle, fell backwards, and landed dead nuts on the tile floor on her kneecap, thus creating all the damage we just said. And so after she got back to the doctor saying, hey, that's kind of a bit of a long shopping list for a physical therapist to resolve, he did refer her to a orthopedic surgeon. So she's going to go see that cat on the 3rd. It's just hurry up and wait. Meanwhile, her leg's a different color than the other one. Her calf muscle looks like it's disconnected. It's just
Yeah,
it's
that
a
was
bad
something
scene.
that was something I was going to mention, was that when we went fishing out at Gator Circle.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when she come hobbling down the driveway,
You can see her calf muscle just flops in the wind like a loose hot dog.
that and
Mm-hmm.
the color was scary. I
And
mean,
they've taken her pulse, they've X-rayed it, they've done MRIs. No one's saying, hey, you're gonna lose that foot if we don't. You touch it, take your thumb off, the white thumbprint stays there for a good 38 seconds.
jeez.
But 2 professionals looked at it. No, but anyhow, so we're she's been laid up for 4 months, and so we said, hey, the last time I went to Gator Circle, they just resurfaced the boat ramp. It looks like a.
This is the Tamarack Angler 100.
Stop. Sorry about that. They just resurfaced the boat ramp, and it looks like a nice ice rink after a Zamboni got off of it. And so I said, well, let's take you there, and you can either shuffle down the boat ramp or I'll carry you, because she has a walker. So Mike loaded up his truck, and we all went out there. And the boat ramp wasn't quite as pristine. Some people with some large boats have been in there since I have been there, but it was still the nicest dirt boat ramp in Cape Coral right now.
Yeah.
And so I backed the truck down, unloaded everything, and I gave Mike my camera, and he recorded me picking her up in my Tundra and carrying her down and plopping her ass into the kayak so she can go fishing. Went fishing. Mike caught, I don't know, you caught what, 3 fish? 4? I caught 2, Carrie caught 1. Went home, posted that video on TikTok, gave her the exact same video, the raw footage. She put a different song on it. She posted it like 4 hours later. The next morning, she had 8,000 views on this video of me carrying her down the boat ramp and putting her in a kayak. With the title of like when you mentally you need to just go out and go fishing, something along the lines. In that same span of time, plus 4 hours, same video on my TikTok that said when she needs to get out of the house after blowing out her knee and ankle, we make things happen. 12 views. Not 12 likes, not 12 comments. This video had been played 12 times in 24 hours, and I shared it with 3 people. Now, keep in mind, I got 16,500 subscribers. So for whatever reason, TikTok felt it not necessary just to play this to the usual 1% of your subscriber base. Don't know if the algorithm thought it was toxic masculinity, me carrying a poor injured woman to her boat. I don't know if maybe they thought I was putting her on a boat to give her a Viking funeral. I don't know what the algorithm thought, but they just felt it did not need to be played. In that same 24 hours, minus the extra 4 hours from when I posted it, her version of that same exact video, same footage with a different song, different caption, had 8,000 views. So how you post the same video on TikTok on 2 different accounts with 2 different songs, and one gets 12 plays, not 12 likes, 12 actual plays, and the other one gets 8,000. That's how you can say, I don't know how TikTok works. Hey, Don, you have a video that has 1.7 million views. How do you get a viral video? I don't know, because this one got 12. So on Monday, I post the same video because I'm lazy, and I just post the same TikTok watermarked video and everything on Instagram. Within 2 hours on Instagram, the thing got 30,000 views. So I don't know. I think right now it's at 65,000 on on Instagram, which on their Reels, which is just a ripoff of TikTok. I'm going to go there right now. I'll give you a live count of that video views. It has 64, so it's died. It got 64,000 views in 3 days. Meanwhile, I posted that video on my TikTok account on Sunday, and right now it has 19 views. It's been played 19 times. So how does TikTok work? I don't know. How does Instagram work? How does any of it work? I've been doing computers for 18 years, and I can't tell you.
And you know, at least one of those views is me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So 19 people seen it. I shared it with probably 4, so actual 14 true what do they call that? Not unique, but organic views for that one video. Not paid for, not shared, or 14 organic views in 3 days.
Well, we definitely hope Miss Pitty Pats gets a speedy recovery. I know school's coming up soon.
Tuesday.
So, yep. So, we talked about that.
The second day fishing, I actually did catch some stuff on the saltwater.
Yeah. Well, we're as far as freshwater goes, yeah, we kind of went through that and all that. I do want to take a quick second and mention to everyone that's watching and listening. Um, I have a couple of, I guess, would you call them affiliations? I would assume affiliations. Yeah. Um, I have 3 affiliations that if anybody wants to go and check them out, Angler Tungsten, they have tungsten weights, hooks, all kinds of things like that. Cool brand, cool people over there. Definitely go check them out. Um, Shredfin Fishing Apparel, excellent shirts. I've got 2 of them in my closet right now. They're comfortable, they're UV rated. You can get hooded, you can get regular t-shirts, non-hooded. Um, those are great. And then my last affiliation, which uh, is probably my biggest affiliation, is Monster Bass.
Nice.
Monster Bass being a subscription box that you get monthly. Um, you get all different kinds of freshwater baits, hard baits, soft plastics, hooks, weights, you name it, it's in that box. There's a few different options as far as plans go, but um, the cool thing is you can set it up by region where you live, or actually by state.
So it
So
basically customizes it to the type of fish in your area.
yes, so I've got it set up obviously for Florida, and
Well,
they
I thought
send
you went with
me
the Alaskan plan.
yeah they send me baits based off of
I want to catch some trout in the canal,
exactly.
some
um,
salmon,
the baits that come in,
some
they're
muskie.
relatively similar to the other boxes as far as like, okay, well, they're throwing in a jerk bait this month, but the
Well, unless your
color
mystery
options are
tackle
different.
box, then it's a every month it's a crankbait, a bag of hooks, and a sticker, and some worms.
Yeah, I mean, they have a similar formula to that as well. They mix it up a little bit, but
Which is a good thing. I'm kind of hacking a mystery tackle box for it being such a templated box. It's like,
yeah,
what crankbait, hook, and bag of worms am I getting this month?
exactly. So yeah, so those are my affiliations. I just wanted to throw those out
We'll
there
have
if
to
you want
put
to check
those
them
up on your
out.
website so people can click through and
Yeah,
put some
absolutely.
banners up there.
I gotta put my link tree. It's in my link tree. If you go to my TikTok at type B Mike, TYPB Mike, you can check those out on my link tree. And I also have discount codes that you can use. I don't remember them off the top of my head, but they are on the link tree buttons, so you can check those out. Saltwater trip number 2.
Yeah,
We had
but
a little more fun on this one, I think.
a little more fun, a lot more traveling.
A lot more
Did a lot
traveling.
of traveling. Luckily, your boat's very good on gas mileage.
Apparently.
Because I mean, I think
I'm
we drove for 40 minutes before we even threw the first hook in the water,
at least.
and it was
At
not a
least.
smooth sail. It was early in the morning, and it was. I mean, it wasn't swells, but it wasn't. It was basically like driving your car through nonstop speed bumps to get where you're going. It was just
Yeah.
boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom, one
Yeah.
after the other.
It was smooth in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And then it got, once you get into a little bit deeper water and you get out there past all the cuts and the islands and everything, that's when that wind starts whipping and it starts, getting real rough out there. But rough ride there for a little bit, and then it smoothed back out again. But yeah, we at least 40 minutes, if not 45 minutes, for the ride out there. We put in at the boat ramp. Won't mention in particular which one it was, but it was in Matlacha. Went north, went all the way around Pine Island, back down south towards Redfish Pass, and set up right there. Not even a single bite the entire time we were there. Not a single one. So we decided to ended up moving, and there was. You hadn't seen that spot before, have you?
No, I've never. I've
one
only
with
been out sea fishing one time, and we were out on the other side of Fort Myers Beach shark fishing.
Yeah. So there's this cool spot out there where there are these old houses from years ago where you could
stick houses,
build.
right?
Yeah. It's like a still house where you could build on the water. And the law now is if you own it, you can upkeep it, but if it gets destroyed by a hurricane or a big storm or whatever, you cannot rebuild. So there are like 4 or 5 of them out there still that are still going, still standing, and
Yeah,
luckily they're still standing.
it's almost like, and these are the authentic Florida Pasco County iconic stilt houses.
Yep.
Um, it's almost like someone had owned some land in the 1800s, and so they had a deed to some land, and then either it sank or the sea level rose, and so now all the dry land's gone, but there's still houses on stilts, and so it seems like, well, since there was technically a deed at some point, these houses have property, they're owned by somebody, and so, and as Mike said, as long as they're existing, they can stay. It's kind of like how people who buy old homes in like the East Coast, like you buy a house from the 17, the early 1900s, and you want to basically knock it down and build a new house on the property, but you don't want to have to pay the new property tax or some of the overbearing regulations. The way around that is you tear the entire house down but one wall. As long as one wall is standing, then it's considered a remodel. And so
Really?
you get grandfathered in on a lot of the codes and stuff. And so
Wow.
like you'll be driving through Kentucky or Ohio and you'll see a foundation, and sometimes you'll see like the brick fireplace, and then you'll see one wall at the end of the house that has like a bunch of 2x4s holding up. Like, that house burned down? No, they're remodeling. And so that's a workaround. So kind of like this, they're allowed to maintain their houses out there, but once they collapse, they're no longer grandfathered in, and that deed no longer stands.
Right. Yeah, that's actually a cool spot. We do normally catch pretty good sized keeper trout out
Says
there.
today anglers still catch mullet, redfish, flounder, snook, cobia, blue crab, and more.
Mm-hmm.
During the early days after rigorous pole treks from the grassy flats, fishermen created resting places to prolong their trips, known as stilt houses or squatter. Squatter rights determined that the location, and as fishermen found the spots they liked, they could build their lodges over the water. So basically, back in the day, they didn't even own the land; they would use squatter rights, which would not fly nowadays unless you live in Seattle
Yeah.
or Washington, somewhere else in
Right.
Washington or Oregon.
But yeah, those are cool little spots out there that it's like that's old Florida.
Yeah, I could definitely
That's
see them shooting a movie there. They probably have shot a
yeah,
movie or two on one of those.
yeah. That's one of those things where it's like we live in the hustle and bustle of this isn't a major town that we live in, but it's not a small town.
Well, it's funny you
You
say
know?
that because when we were out there floating around, I do this every once in a while. I have to remind myself that we live in the area of the country where most people up north save 2, 3, 4 years worth of tax returns and vacation pays to bring their family for 2 weeks,
Yeah.
and yet we live down here and take it all for granted.
Mm-hmm.
And so that
Yeah,
is one of the
I definitely consider myself fortunate as I try to remind myself as much as possible. Like I live in a vacation destination.
mm-hmm.
People scrounge to come here, and it can be very humbling. Um, but yeah, that's a cool spot that we usually try to catch some keeper trout and whatever we can. Um, the next spot that we went to, another grass flat area, probably about 4 or 5 feet deep, I think, in that spot.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when the fish turned on.
Yeah, I mean it was almost like fish in a barrel. I mean, literally, as soon as that shrimp hit the water, you had an empty hook. It robbed you blind.
Yep. Yep. And we had multiple species, which was cool. When you go out into saltwater, yeah, you can expect to catch just about anything, but it's cool when you're out there actually doing it.
And for those of you who just logged on to Facebook and you're seeing this weird podcast, no, this is not a replay of the What's Your Head podcast. This is a preview, if you will, into the Digital 410 Network's newer podcast, the Tackle Your Personal Best podcast. No, this is not one of my new podcasts. I am simply a guest. This is Mike's and his buddy Ron, his partner Ron's podcast. We're just kind of playing it on our page tonight just as a preview to people as part of sharing another podcast that's part of the Digital 410 Network. So welcome aboard, and you guys can find more details about the Tackle Your Personal Best podcast over at d-410.com or pbbates.d-410.com.
Yep. Yep, and we definitely appreciate the have you guys having us on and becoming a part of the family. So,
And
um,
so I finally, you were pulling in some fish. Your family members in their pontoon boat were pulling in some fish.
yeah.
I was getting robbed left and right. And it wasn't until your family member gave us some corks that we were able to suspend our hooks 3 feet below the surface that we started getting hits. And as soon as you threw these damn shrimp in, we were pulling. First one I caught was I always have to say holy mackerel, mackerel. And so I caught that thing, and that thing had some teeth on it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, they're mean too.
that thing was about a foot long, and he was a fighter.
Mm-hmm.
And now, once again, I use my bass wrangling expertise, and I just grab that son of a bitch up, and he's all wiggling, and I'm squeezing probably harder than I needed to, but he was another squiggly one, and I finally got the lip lock in him, got the hook out, but when I went to throw him back in the water, he was just shaking. I was squeezing. Apparently, I squeezed him a little too hard because he basically regurgitated all the bait fish that he had consumed that morning all over my feet. And I threw his ass back in. But I didn't realize until probably like 20 minutes later, I looked down and there's just all these partially digested bait fish. Like the eyes were already gone. Like the skin was still on the ribs, but like the eyes and like the skull was being exposed. And so I'm like picking up these half digested bait fish and throwing them back in. And so my first one I caught was a mackerel, and then you caught one or two. You caught some pretty interesting looking fish, but before I caught my next one.
Let's see. I did get a Spanish mackerel myself. I got, I want to say 2 or 3 mangrove snapper, one keeper, but we didn't keep it.
The
Probably
world's
3 or
smallest, creepiest needlefish.
yeah.
Redfin needlefish.
You just reminded me about that. I actually forgot about
I just
them,
Googled them, and that's exactly what they are. The needlefish those are from the Florida Panhandle. The needlefish, they have a mouth kind of like almost like a swordfish or even a super skinny gar. But as the name implies, their entire body is the same height as their jawline. They look like a needle. But the one you caught were babies, and so they were even smaller. They were almost too small. It's like, how did you even get that hook in you? I'm looking at some photos. There's some guys catching some big ass versions of those, and they got some teeth on you. I'll tell you what. Whew.
I didn't even know he was on the line.
No, the ones you caught were so small.
Well, I had the line out there. I saw the cork bobbing up and down a little bit, and then I saw something flopping out there. So I was like, well, let me check my bait anyway. So I reeled it in, and it was like this I don't know, what would you say, like a 9 or 10 inch long needlefish.
Yeah, it looks like it's made out of steel. It's called the Atlantic needlefish, and they have them from Florida all the way to Chesapeake Bay, and they look like a sewing needle with fins. It's the only way you can describe them. They have no shape to them.
Yep.
I don't know if they're good eating because this guy has like 6 of them on a stringer. Maybe they're good eating. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know how you would even eat one of those.
This guy's holding one that's like 10 feet long.
But yeah, the mangrove snapper caught some pretty good sized pinfish.
And then of course you can't fish live bait without catching a goddamn catfish or two.
Oh yeah.
My second fish was a catfish, and then I think you caught 1 or 2 more.
I think I caught 2 catfish.
And then we caught a handful of. I think I caught a total 5 or 6 fish, but I think I caught 1 or 2. What were they? Snappers? No, drums. They weren't drums. What the hell were they?
No.
The little round ones.
Yeah, you caught.
Oh no,
snapper.
the ironically named pinfish, which are not pin shaped at all. They're round like a goddamn quarter. Don't know why they're called pinfish. They don't look like pins at all.
Well, they're definitely good bait. Snook, redfish, and tarpon and stuff. They like to eat those.
And so yeah, caught a couple of pinfish, and then still no snook for me. But yeah, I caught 5 or 6 fish, and it was fun to finally catch fish. I will say I'm definitely one, I prefer my fish with no teeth, easier to handle. But two, even when it comes to freshwater fishing, I enjoy a more dynamic fishing. I'm more of a toss a lure, flip a worm, cast and retrieve, cast and retrieve. Um, I enjoy the throw a hook in and drink a beer, but um, my preferably is definitely more dynamic fishing.
Well, and that's where you get into, because what we were doing, yeah, we were inshore fishing, but you know, when you're fishing for live bait, I mean, that's basically what you do. You sit there,
Yeah,
you
toss it
have a
in.
beer and bullshit, and then wait for your line to start zipping. But after we got done with that spot, we ended up moving a little bit further inland towards Matlacha, and we started flipping around the mangroves for some snook and redfish.
You were talking
And
about how you caught a snook and I prematurely ejected your snook because it was so slippery. Yet I'm sitting here
yes,
looking at a picture of what's got to be a 9-year-old boy with one hand, the other hand's just a stump, and he probably has a 4-foot long snook in his arm. This kid can hold a 4-foot long snook in his armpit with one hand because he only with his hand is lipping it. The arm without the hand is held, and he's not launching this thing. Me, grown ass man with two capable hands, can't hold on to a 12-inch long snook, and this kid's got like a 4-foot one now. Okay, I see how it is. Said I was out of my element.
and well, and we after we moved to those mangroves and moved into that, closer into that spot, we actually spotted a couple shark.
Mm-hmm.
We saw some schooling fish that I seem to think that they were redfish, but we couldn't. I mean, we couldn't see them or couldn't tell. I mean, they weren't tailing like a redfish would, but there was definitely a school of something moving around the boat.
And we
But
also saw dolphins that let us know how truly deformed and mangled Doofy was because, like I said, when we first saw him, I was like, oh, he's missing a quarter of his fin. But after seeing a real dolphin, I'm like, oh, no, he was missing probably more than half.
poor guy.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, overall, last couple of weekends, just kind of wrapping it up, with the 3 trips that we had, we caught some fish, had some good times. We're definitely getting back out there so that you can get a good snook or a good redfish for sure.
I just need content. I haven't put up I put up one fishing video on YouTube in probably 2 months because every time I'd go out, I would catch a dink or two, but it's like I don't want to put a 20-minute video of dinks up on YouTube because people are going to stop tuning in because like, wow, this guy doesn't catch anything but little fish. So it's
Yeah.
almost at the point now if it doesn't weigh more than a pound and a half, or at least if I don't have at least 1 or 2 pound and a half fish. I mean, if I have a day where I catch a pound and a half, 2, 3, 4 pound bass, then obviously I'll include all the dinks in the video, but I don't want to make a 15, 20-minute video of nothing but things that weigh less than a pound because people are going to stop tuning in. So I haven't posted a video of fishing content with the exception of our saltwater fishing. And the only reason I posted that one was because of the manatee. If we wouldn't have seen the manatee or the dolphin, I probably wouldn't have spent the time to edit that video. But because of that was so cool. And so, the aforementioned GoPro problem from earlier, when I brought my less than stellar GoPro, the battery wasn't charged, and the generic ass USB cable I bought from 7-Eleven didn't work, so I had no camera for our second trip, so I have no footage of when we finally started catching fish. I have no footage of that.
Yeah.
And no TikTok footage because I had no tripod with me. So, yep. So no footage there.
Definitely every time that we go out, I'm just going to start bringing all my camera gear with me.
You got to.
If yours starts malfunctioning or if you don't have a
I gotta
camera
get
we'll
a second GoPro.
Yeah. But I mean that pretty much wraps it up for this episode. Appreciate everybody tuning in and watching and listening at home, wherever you are, in your car, at work. Definitely check us out. Right now, our URL is pbbaits.d-410.com. You can check out all of our profiles. We have all of our social media, myself, D-Train, Real Tactics, everything's up there. Check out all of our social medias. Type B Mike is mine. D-Train, I know you've got yours and your other podcasts as well. What's in Your Head podcast, What's the Scuttlebutt? And I think, are you starting to do Field to Fill again? Or
I do it occasionally. That one is a niche audience, and so it's a niche subject matter, so it takes longer for me to find, take the time to find guests for that. So that's a limited series, but they're all there at d-410.com. You can find links to my YouTube and my social media for all my TikToks and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
I want to thank Mike for having me on, and thank everybody for hanging out. And I think that's going to about wrap it up.
Yep. Thanks for coming. We'll definitely go out there and slay some more fish here soon.
We'll see you over at What's the Scuttlebutt on Monday and What's in Your Head on Tuesday. So thank you guys.
This has been a Digital 410 production.